Hello and welcome to the property session of the Better Investor Conference. My name is Suryan Naidu and I'm Deputy Editor at Moneyweb. I also host the Property Pod, which from April is a weekly podcast on Moneyweb, published on Tuesdays. This session of the conference is titled Beware These Pitfalls When Investing in Retirement Property. I am joined by Michelle Dommisse, a Cape Town-based conveyancing attorney and estate law expert, who is director of Michelle Dommisse Associates, to discuss this topic. We will not only look at the pitfalls, but the pros and cons of different retirement property options when one retires and is looking to downscale. Michelle is joining us virtually from the mother city. Welcome, Michelle. How's the weather down in Cape Town?
It's good, thanks, Sharon. It's good to be here.
Thanks again. Just a note to our viewers online to send questions via our Moneyweb YouTube chat box or via email on events@moneyweb.co.za. Michelle, to kick off, tell us for retirees, what are the key things to consider
when they're choosing a retirement property?
Yes, but also from an investment perspective, which is better, going for sectional title ownership as opposed to life rights?
Yes. Well, in terms of an investment, sectional title is better, because you get 100% of the profit when you sell your asset. So this isn't possible for everyone, because benefit of life rights is you often get a lot more facilities for lower price. So often people can't afford sectional titles plus the facilities they need. And so, yeah, that's why there seems to be so many new developments, because it offers people a way of getting the facilities and healthcare they need that they can afford. But unfortunately, it also means they don't get the profit in the life rights is sold.
Maybe if you can give us a little bit more detail on the pros and cons of each, because I'm sure there are positives to life rights as well.
Yes, there definitely are. So the pros for life rights is, like I said, they're more affordable. And often they come with lots of facilities, healthcare facilities, and it provides a real community for people. They've got age restrictions of how old you have to be to live there. And so people are surrounded by their own age. And it's also a capital gains tax benefit, because there isn't capital gains if there's no profit when it's sold. Then with the sectional title, there's also a community that you benefit from. And you get 100% of the profit when you sell it. Often they don't come with facilities. And so the levies for sectional title are often lower because there aren't the facilities. But you do also get the benefit of living in a community. But what has to be said for both life rights and sectional title is it does pose quite a change for people who are used to living in their own home. Because whether you're in sectional title, you'll have a body corporate that you're answerable to, or if you're in a life right, you'll have the developer or the trustees that you're answerable to. So either way, people have to be prepared for quite a significant change.
When it comes to buying a life rights property, it's not always a case of the owner losing the property as an investment when when an owner wants to bequeath it to their children or heirs. give us some insights on the life rights side of things, just to understand a little bit more detail to why you thinking maybe sectional title is still a better option, because it seems that life rights is becoming quite a thing that's being punted by property developers and residential estates.
It certainly is. So what's really important for people to understand is that a life right can't be bequeathed. So it finishes when the person who holds the life right dies. So that's not something you can bequeath in your will. Whereas if you own a sectional title unit, you can bequeath it in your will to a loved one.
Michelle, apologies about this, but can you please turn your sound down and your headphones up a little bit, just to be a little bit clearer?
Is that better?
Is it at all possible for you to wear headphones?
Serene, is that better?
Okay, maybe if we can just maybe speak. Okay, fantastic. That is better. Thanks, Michelle. Not all life rights are the same. What advice would you give a person regarding questions to ask when considering life rights as opposed to sectional title?
Yes. So it's a case of it being very, very important to read the fine print. Every life right will come with a set of rules and regulations and a constitution. And it's really important for investors to either read those or ensure that their attorney or accountant reads them for them. Because in that, it will give them a lot of important information that will affect both their investments and their standard of living in the unit. So it will give them, if there is a percentage profit that's paid at the end, it will give them that percentage. And it will also give them a good idea of what the rules will be to live there. And things to consider for a life right is often there's an age restriction. So if you want to have a guest who's under the age of 50, you'll have to get permission. And all of that will be stipulated in the rules and regulations. And so it's really important for people to read those and to know exactly what they're getting into.
Thanks for that, Michelle. Just in terms of costs, costs such as levies and other ad hoc expenses of owning a property, but also a retirement property is no doubt a big thing to consider, especially for a retiree that's balancing not a certain budget, as it were. Can you give us some ideas on costs? Naturally, it's dependent on a specific property and estate, but maybe a list of possible costs that could come up, especially from a retirement property perspective, I suppose specifically with sectional title. Also, the big elephant or not really elephant in the room, but the issue around load shedding, more and more people, and I suppose retired people would also want to consider, what options they have from a load shedding perspective.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that a lot of developments, life right developments, have they build in generators and inverters and a way to mitigate against load shedding. Whereas sectional title, generally you've got to put it in yourself and incur the cost. So for maintenance, if you have a life right, your maintenance costs are going to be lower because that is covered by your levies. With sectional title, you'll still have to pay for maintenance for the inside of your property. Obviously, communal area maintenance is covered by your sectional title levy. For both of them, you'll have to pay for utilities I know they often have food levies, which you can choose to take or not with your life rights. Yeah, so the big difference is with sectional title, you can expect your monthly maintenance costs to be higher, whereas with life rights, your maintenance is covered by your levies and that cost is fixed. So it'll tell you in the rules and regulations what the escalation is going to be for your levies each year, so you know exactly what to expect and they aren't unpleasant surprises.
When it comes to life rights, are there any other hidden costs that a person looking to invest in a life rights option, are there any hidden costs worth highlighting?
Yes, look, your monthly levies with the life rights are usually much higher than they would be for sectional title. And this is often because of all of the extra facilities that are paid for by the levies.
As a estate law expert, you've probably dealt with dozens of retirees that have downscaled over the years and have bought properties. What are some of the other things to consider or issues that may have come up where, for example, a retiree decided to go for a life rights option but regrets the decision?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to reading the fine print and being really aware of what they're getting into. So I always say to people before they get into a life right or buy a sectional title unit to really do their homework and obviously read all of the documents, but also speak to people who are living in the estate. Speak to people if it's a new development and there's nobody living there yet. Find out what developments have been done by the same developer and go and speak to people living in those developments to find out what it's like. And people can do the same for sectional titles. Go along to the block of flats, meet people, ask them what it's like, and just really kind of give yourself the information you need to make an informed decision before you commit to it.
And just in terms of life rights, are there, if you decide you've bought into a life rights and then you say, okay, this is not for me, how easy is it to get out of life rights? Do you have to just, do you forfeit? What are the options there?
Yeah, so all of that will be determined by the rules that you'll be given when you're signing up for a life right. And it will provide, the process about what has to happen if you wish to get out of a life right. Generally, you get back what you paid. Often they take a small amount, a maintenance amount, to restore your unit, but generally you give them the notice they require, and then you receive most of what you paid for the life right.
Important topic for everyone is tax. What are some of the tax implications depending on whichever option you go for, whether it's sectional title or life rights? Yeah.
Yes, so for life rights, there will be no capital gains tax payable if there's no profit. So capital gains tax only follows where there is profit. And so if you own a sectional title unit and it's sold, there will be capital gains tax payable on that if it's above the primary residence exclusion. But yeah, so people always get excited and say, oh, there's no capital gains tax for life rights, but that's often because there's no profit.
And I've seen you mentioned in some of your articles before, you talk of end of life legalities. You may have already covered this in previous questions, but how important is a well-drafted will, for example, when you decide on those different retirement property options?
a well-drafted will is very, very important. And it's a good idea for you to have your will drawn up by people who wind up estates, because then they know exactly what needs to be included. Most South Africans die without a will, and the main benefits of having a will is you get to choose who your executor is and stipulate who you want your assets to be bequeathed to. And the reason why you want a well-drafted will is well-drafted wills are clear. And I always say to people when I'm meeting with them to draft their will, the more detail that is clearly stated that you can put in your will, the kinder it is for your loved ones, because it prevents conflict, it prevents squabbling. It's often difficult for people to know exactly what the deceased person wanted, and a will provides a roadmap so that your intentions and what you want is absolutely clear, and it's very, very important for your loved ones.
When it comes to sectional title, for instance, I understand there's ways to structure your estate so that inevitable implications of capital gains tax and income tax are minimized. What are some of your tips around that to lessen your tax burden, as it were?
Yes. So I'm not a tax specialist at all. So whenever I do a will for somebody who's got a large estate, I work with their financial advisors or accountants to ensure that the most tax efficient options are taken. And there are little things that you can do in a will, like if the person drafting the will owns property, it's really important to stipulate exactly who the property is going to, so that you take advantage of transfer duty exemptions and things like that. But it is something that needs a collaborative approach to ensure that the most tax efficient options are taken for the person.
Michelle, I know you have somewhat of a bias towards sectional title, but what are the trends in the industry, just in terms of your interaction, the amount of clients you deal with? Is sectional title still in demand, or is this life rights becoming a big thing to consider? Perhaps property developers, you might hear of them adding to the incentives to look at life rights as opposed to sectional title developments.
Yeah, look, I think that there is a huge need for care facilities for elderly people. You know, our constitution enshrines the rights for old people to receive healthcare. And I think that that is something that developers are creating, is they're creating um, a place where elderly people can live, where they receive healthcare facilities at a more affordable price. And so I understand why it is a booming part of the market and why there are so many new developers and new developments going up, because I think there are a lot of people who need to have a safe place to live, where the facilities are there if they need them, they're secure, they've got healthcare. So there is a real need for that. So I do understand why there are so many new life right options available to people.
To conclude, Michelle, what are some of your key messages around retirement property planning, broadly speaking, from our chat today, and other insights that you've gained over the years as a law expert specializing in this area of the property industry, as it were?
Yeah, it is super important to read the fine print. So, you know, people have got financial advisors that they can speak to, attorneys, accountants. Whenever you're about to have a big change in your life and to embark on a new chapter, it's really, really important to upskill yourself and to gain as much knowledge as you can before choosing the next right step for you. So I would just encourage people to really do their homework, read the fine print, interview other people in similar situations so that they make the best choice for the next part of their lives.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That's a wrap for this property session of the Better Investor Conference. Michelle is the director of Michelle Dommisse Associates based out of Cape Town. Up next, my colleague Ryk van der Kerk has a session on South Africa and the significant political challenges ahead.